The goal is not to think alike in our marriages. It's to think together. So I can appreciate by getting curious where you're at, even though I have never experienced that, even though I may not agree with it.
Yeah.
I can come into your world and have an appreciation for your experience.
Absolutely. What is going on, everybody? Jimmy and Irene Rollins here with 2 Equals 1 Marriage Podcast. We're trying to let y'all know that we are equally crazy, but equally committed. And that's where all of you are in your relationship. If you think your spouse is just crazy, guess what? You crazy. Both of y'all are crazy, but both of y'all need to be committed to a marriage of love, laughter, and longevity. We're in season 2, episode 7, y'all. Yes. Season 2, episode 7. And we've done this collection of series on what? On how to have a good fight. Rather than just having fighting in your marriage, we want you to be able to fight for your marriage. And the last talk was insane. And I'm telling you, expectations and assumptions and all that and how to forgive.
That's right.
We've talked about forgiveness. Guess what? It cleans the slate. It clears the cache, all that good stuff. And then today is what, babe?
We are going to be recovering communication.
Recovering communication. How to talk again.
Recovering communication. But you can't start this new communication without clearing the cache, without a clear slate, without forgiveness, and really letting go of everything that's happened in the past and saying, you know what, this is going to be the new way forward. So before we even taught these tools, we knew we had to have an episode 6. Go back and listen to it. If you haven't listened to it, you've got to start with a clean slate and forgiveness. And if you're having a struggle with that, it's hard for all of us to give and receive forgiveness. Go back and listen to episode 6.
So many people, we've talked to so many couples, they cannot talk. Every time they talk, they have an argument. Every time they talk, one person shuts down, another person gets loud. We talked about in our relationship how one person is the tiger, which is me. The other person is the turtle, which is you, going in your shell. And literally, we had to take back just our negative words, and we had to recover our communication. And that's what this episode is all about, is how to recover the communication, how to start talking again. What do you do when there's just been so much contention in your marriage that you can't communicate?
Right.
And that's what we want to talk about. And I'm telling you guys right now, this was so critical for us, and all of the counseling, all of the conversations, all of the money invested in our, healing, our healing journey has been about now communication.
That's right. And what I love about this whole process is it starts with positivity.
That's it.
It starts with not just forgiveness and clearing the slate, but having a positive attitude about your communication, about your spouse, a positive outlook. So here's the deal. Number 1, when you want to recover your communication, we are going to, number 1, share appreciation.
Share appreciation.
That's the first thing we do, because you know what it does, Jimmy? It switches us from our automatic thinking, which is negative, as human beings in general. We have a tendency to skew negative.
We do.
So do you know you can get counseling from psychiatrists and psychologists, who have degrees in positive psychology.
Really?
Because it is a thing.
I need that.
It is a thing.
I needed that.
Yeah, right. I have to sometimes gently remind my husband that you are skewing negative.
Yeah.
And one of the ways we do this to turn around our communication and start if it's been bad, if we want to just start off our conversation, our hard conversation, our easy conversation, whatever it is, with just keeping the best in mind about our spouse, we start with an appreciation. So it kind of looks like this. It's a 0 negativity zone. Zero. We do not tolerate
zero negativity with appreciation.
Yep. And when I learned to affirm you, remember, I didn't know how to do it at first.
Yeah.
I was so resentful of you in the beginning of our relationship, and I literally did not like you.
Like as awesome as I am?
I did not like you. So it was like, how do I share an appreciation? Remember we went out on a quadruple date one time, and we went around the table sharing appreciations, and one couple, like the wife could not think of one thing
positive to say about.
Not one thing. to say
husband.
it was the most awkward moment at that
It was
dinner table.
awful. I remember right now, it still gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. I literally tried to save it. I couldn't come in for the save. We couldn't save the moment. It was horrible. So when we share an appreciation,
why don't you share 3 quick appreciations about
Sure.
me?
And we started all our counseling sessions off with
I'm going to talk about that when it's my turn.
Yeah. So, Jimmy, you know what? I appreciate the fact that you are a visionary.
I'm a visionary.
Yes. And why I appreciate that is because you always have vision for our family, for our finances. So I trust that. What I feel about that is just security.
Wow.
Security. I feel secure in your ability to help God provide for our family.
That's great.
So thank you for your vision for our finances, your vision for our family.
Now, just, we would normally we'll teach the mirroring later. But just go ahead and share the other 2 because I just want to hear them. Make them shorter, though.
Okay. I appreciate, no problem. You're right. I appreciate that you were listening this morning when I was encouraging you to just start and keep the main thing with our teaching and our podcasting and our recording. Let's be gentle, kind, and respectful of one another. Thank you for hearing me when I said that and understanding how important it was to me.
Great.
Thank you for one thing I appreciate about you. Another thing is just how you parent. Our daughter's birthday was yesterday. We spent time with her and she said her 18th birthday was the best birthday ever. And it's because, spending time with us, like we're the parents. I never thought I'd be the cool parent that my kid would want to hang out with us, you and I. So I appreciate you being an amazing parent relationally, that your daughter wants to hang out with you. You're amazing.
So I want y'all to just really adopt some regulations, some things that we're doing right now intentionally. I have extreme ADHD. What I am doing is giving my wife eye contact. As she is talking to me, I am looking into her eyes to let her know that she has my full attention. This is a skill. This is not just a decision. This is a skill. What am I doing? I'm actively listening. And I am listening to understand, not to respond. And why it's good to start off with affirmations, because you don't really want to even respond to an affirmation, right? It's teaching you how to listen. And so when my wife is giving me affirmations, I'm looking, I'm giving her eye contact. My body language is saying I'm in the game, right? I'm in the conversation. And the last thing I don't have my phone out. And so many of us, we're like, go ahead. And we've got our phone out and we're scrolling. And although she knows with me, I'm still listening because I have ADD. I can literally dominate these 2 things at the same time. It's her love language. She wants to have my fullest attention. And now here's what I want to say about my affirmations. When we were at our worst, we walk into counseling. It's the first time we go to counseling. And this lady makes us sit down and starts off our counseling session. Now, I want y'all to understand, our marriage was at its worst. And we had to give 3 affirmations. And so I was like, I don't really want to give 3 affirmations. My wife was crushing stuff. She was doing great in a lot of areas. But because I couldn't compartmentalize contention, I did not want to give her affirmations. Right. And so now it's easy to give affirmations. Like I can literally say, thank you so much. I appreciate the way that you run our household with organization. I appreciate that you organize me. I appreciate that you are a planner. I appreciate that you always are thinking the best about my travel and, what time I come home and what flight I'm on and what seat I sit in and making my life easy. That I appreciate that. I appreciate the way that you care for yourself. You're working out. You're always eating great. What you're saying to me is, I want to live long. I want to be around long. It makes me want to do those things. You're actually leading me and you don't even know it. I appreciate that. I also appreciate that you trust me with our finances. I appreciate that you don't nag me. I appreciate that, you don't question my decisions. You
as long as
honor,
you tithe and we're straight.
Right? You honor my decisions. You respect my decisions. And I appreciate that. Listen to me, listeners. If you're going to recover your communication, it's going to have to start with sharing appreciations. It's going to have to start because appreciations, right? They result in affirmation. Appreciations result in affirmations. And when your spouse feels affirmed, it opens up their mind to receive. It gets them into a position to receive, even if it's a hard conversation. Because you just told me how much you appreciate. One of the things that we have to stop doing, Irene, is tearing one another down. Couples are tearing each other down. And what they do is they don't even look for anything that they could appreciate.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? There's this quote. I'm going to look it up right now. It goes something like this. The author's unknown. But what I love about this quote is it demonstrates what happens in the other person when we go into their world. Go and love someone exactly the way they are, and then watch them transform into the truest version of themselves.
Wow.
When one feels truly seen and appreciated in the essence of who they are instantly empowered.
Wow.
It's a powerful statement.
Wow.
Because when I listen to you to understand and you feel heard and you feel appreciated and loved and known, then you are going to function and be empowered to be your best self. What? Instantly.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Learning this skill.
We have to learn it.
Yeah.
And I think this is how we recover our communication, because what we're doing is we're literally replacing our negativity, replacing our negative words, replacing our yelling conversations. And I think that's key. So start every conversation with appreciations, especially hard ones.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm really excited to do is teach our listeners talking boundary. Like, how do I frame up a conversation? How do I frame up a hard conversation? How do I frame up a difficult conversation? Can you help us with this? Because you're so good at this.
Sure. The talking boundary is so critical to learn. It 100% makes the easy conversations, the hard conversations more effective.
That's right.
So we're going to sit face to face.
Sit face to face. Gotcha.
That's number one. Sit face to face. I like to sit crisscross applesauce.
I like to sit
I'm going to sit
like this.
Sit like that.
Come on.
And then, the person who only one person talks and the other person listens. So we do not interrupt. We may ask for a pause if we need clarification. So can you clarify this so that I can understand before the person keeps going on? So we sit face to face, one person talks, one person listens. We are mindful of how long we're talking.
Yes.
Because it's hard for the other person to track.
Especially with the next step.
Yes. So that's pretty much the gist of starting. And then we're going to ask for what we need and what we want.
That's great.
In this talking boundary.
It's great.
We're going to ask for what we need and what we want. And here's the deal. Some people, it may be easy. You find it extremely easy to ask for what you need and ask for what you want.
Yes.
Me as a recovering codependent, it's very difficult for me to express that I have a need and I have a want. It's almost like codependents believe they exist to take care of everybody else on the planet, right? And make sure everybody else is taken care of. I don't take care of my own needs, or I struggle to. I've gotten better. So being assertive is part of this healthy communication, this recovering communication. It's being assertive and asking for what I need and what I want.
Yes. I think the main thing about a talking boundary in the first part of it is stating the facts without accusation.
Yep.
Right? It's what you
how
notice.
do you do that?
So one of the things that I feel like we've gotten great at is just talk about what we notice. And so stating the facts could sound like this. Hey, babe, first of all, I said, is this a good time to talk? It's a good time to talk. I'm asking for permission.
Yep.
Can we talk now? I'll even send a text and says, hey, can we talk tonight? I got something I'd like to share. Is tonight good? And what I'm doing is just preparing your mind that there's a conversation coming. Then I'm sitting here and I just state the facts. So let's say it's something that I notice, right? I notice that when I share something that's going on with me, at times, I notice that the first thing you do might be is to provide a solution. I noticed that. Now listen, there was no accusation. And this is a level 2, level 1 issue, right? It's not a real thing, but we're practicing this for our listeners. And what I'm saying is not, why are you always butting in? Why are you always trying to solve what's going on with me? Don't you know how to listen? Why can't you just listen? This is what couples do.
Yeah.
Instead of just stating what they notice. I notice that when I share, your first response is normally to provide a solution. You don't have to say rather than, just to provide a solution.
Yep.
Right? And now Irene is going to take us to the next step. All I'm going to do is say what I noticed. I noticed that that when I share something that's on my heart, that sometimes you go into coaching mode and you just want to help fix it.
Right.
Can you give me clarity on that?
Sure. So what I'm hearing you say, so now I'm going to mirror back what
She is
heard
mirroring.
you say.
Yes.
Yep, exactly what I heard you say, not paraphrase it. So what I'm hearing you say is that you notice that when you bring up an issue, I have a tendency to jump right into fix mode. And how do you feel about that? Tell me more about it.
Yeah, you got that. You got that. And what that makes me feel is that because I'm male and the first thing I'm saying is it's very difficult for me to share my feelings, that there's already a solution before I really get to what's wrong with me and or what I'm dealing with or or bringing you into my world. Or I feel like you might think you have the answer for everything, and how that makes me feel really, and I know it's my issue and I own it, is shut down. Because you have no idea how hard it was for me to even bring it up.
Okay. Let me see if I got that.
Yes.
So you as a male, it can be very difficult to even emote and get emotional and share your emotions. So when I jump in with a solution right away, what you make up or what you feel about that is that you're shut down, is the word you used. Would it be accurate to say like you feel not heard or that I haven't validated the emotion first?
Yes.
Like that going into your world, you said,
before
I move on to a solution, as if I know and have a solution for everything. Did I get that?
You got that. Thank you so much for listening.
Okay.
Can I ask a vulnerable request?
Sure.
So now what I'm doing is I've taken the facts, right? I said what I noticed. There was no accusation. I didn't say
feel
you.
defensive at all.
I didn't attack my wife, right? I am working her through that. This feeling is mine. Like this emotion is mine. Now I'm going to say, is it okay if I ask for a vulnerable request? Can I ask possibly that when I am sharing a thought that's now is very difficult to share, that your first response would be to come into my world. And what I'm going to ask for is for you to say, tell me more about that. Right? Is that okay?
Sure.
So what do you hear me say?
So what I'm hearing you say is that your vulnerable request, what you'd like for me to do is come in and to your world and feel it with you first.
Yeah.
And really ask permission if you want suggestions.
Yes.
I ask permission.
Yes.
Check in with you to see if you even want advice.
Yes.
Don't just assume that I can just give you advice. Like you'd prefer that I ask.
I appreciate you coming to my world and listening to me. And guys, listen, as you're listening to this, many of you are like, how do we do this? Because right now we have had all of these other things about how to have a good fight. And many of you are going to want to skip right to this. You cannot do this without episode 1 through 6.
That's right.
You can't do it. It's episode 7. And people want to get right to this.
Right.
Fix it. How do I have change in my relationship? It's called process. And I'm telling you right now, that disarming of Irene saying, I hear you saying, it lets me know that you're coming into my world and regurgitating my feeling and saying, so it makes you feel this. The last thing you want to do is make me feel bad.
No.
And it really validates that in me and that trust that you're not trying to win.
Right.
You're trying to grow.
And resolve something or manage a tension.
Yes.
You know what's so interesting? This is probably the longest you have ever sat face to face with me and looked at me in the eye and talked. Thank goodness for XO Marriage Podcast. I feel like we have a huge deposit in our relationship today. You can ride off that for a little while.
Absolutely.
But it's been awesome. I love and appreciate the fact that you're able to do this. Yes. I know you're capable. It's not an unrealistic expectation.
Wow.
But sometimes
I'm kind of mad I showed it to you a little bit.
Sometimes I have to modify my expectations or ask for what I need and what I want, because sometimes I notice that you are on your phone and it bothers me in a way that makes me feel, what I make up about that is that what I have to say is not valuable.
Yeah.
And
it's the last thing I want you to do is feel not valuable.
So I appreciate the fact that I've had this opportunity, because we're recording a podcast, to look into your eye and just talk about stuff. And we're learning and growing together as we're doing these podcasts. This is our real life.
Yeah.
I love it. And how did we start doing this? I got out of rehab. We didn't know what we were doing. We're like, how are we going to survive re-entry when I get home from rehab as we build our family? And we started having these family meetings on Wednesdays. We'd order pizza, no phone zone, and we'd all sit around, and Maya made a little baton, and you could only talk if you had the baton in your hand. And we went around the 8 basic emotions.
Yeah.
And we got it off, Googled it and printed it out.
Yeah.
And, I felt joy. We each took turns saying what we felt in that emotion each day, or in that past week. And we became more literate in our emotional language, and how to describe what we were feeling and what happened. And because we didn't interrupt, because we were just listening, not to respond unless it was a kid issue and we needed to deal with it later. We just made note of it.
To understand.
But we listened to understand one another, and we found out so many interesting things about our kids. Remember, like found out when, someone was being bullied, they experienced shame when they never would have had an opportunity to express that if we hadn't had the family meeting. And I believe that it's in our using these skills and being intentional about having the conversations and the check-ins, which we'll get in the next episode with check-ins and when to have hard conversations. We're going to use this tool when we go into those conversations. Creates safety, builds trust.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that couples get stuck to before we close this episode is if they didn't agree. So let's say what I'm saying and what I said that you didn't agree with it, right? And what happens is we allow a lack of agreement to shut down, for us to shut down, and it results in a lack of listening.
Yeah.
Right? So instead of shutting down, what you're going to do if you don't agree is get curious. And you're going to say, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. Can I ask a question? And the question is not going to be accusatory. The question Irene would have said is, can you give me a for instance?
Yes.
Right? The question is going to be, what would that feel like? Like if the roles were reversed. So tell me, if you were doing that to me, what would that sound like?
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when we got stuck on an issue, remember not even early on in our marriage, it was the first 15 years where you did not feel like I had left my family. The Bible says to leave and cleave, right? Yeah. And you felt like I had this inordinate attachment, enmeshment with my family. I didn't even know what the word enmeshment meant, but now I do. I couldn't think without thinking through the filters of pleasing my family and how they felt about things, and how that made you feel was you didn't feel like we were one, that were Team Rollins. Like it felt like my loyalties were more to my family of origin than to our marriage unit. And it was sitting in front of our counselor working on this tool where you began to express, when I hear you on the phone with your so-and-so, being so vulnerable and open with them.
This is so huge.
Yes. What I make up about that is that you can't do the same with me.
Yes.
That they're more important to you than me. And about that, you felt pain. And then what you asked for me vulnerably was that I give you the opportunity to have those conversations with first.
Absolutely.
And did I get that?
Yes.
That was a huge issue in our marriage.
And what she did was got curious
because I didn't get it at first. Yeah.
I love the fact that you were fishing for my feelings. I feel like we need to coin this. As you were talking, imagine you fishing for your spouse's feelings until you catch the hurt. Right? Yes. So like,
that's good.
like figure out what the bait is. Fish for their feelings. Keep casting out, getting curious until you find the hurt, till you catch the thing that's been, you're stuck in your communication. And so here's what I want to do. First of all, I want to let everyone know the talking boundary notes are going to be in your show notes. So you can go to the show notes and it'll teach you how to have this conversation. Let me tell you something, guys. I literally I printed it out, and when I knew a hard conversation was coming, a difficult conversation, something that was on my heart that I wanted change in, I'd be practicing in the car.
Yeah.
I'd have the show out
in my wallet.
Right? And I'd practice it. And guess what? Practice doesn't make perfect. It makes permanent. It makes conversations like this permanent. This is how I interact with everyone now.
Yeah.
If I'm frustrated about something, say, tell me more about that. What I noticed was, and tell me more about that. I'm telling you right now, we're teaching people not to just be fighting in their marriage, but learning how to fight for their marriage.
Yeah. We listen to understand now, not to respond.
Yes.
And when we don't agree, it's okay, because the goal is not to think alike. It's to think together.
Ooh, say that again.
The goal is not to think alike in our marriages. It's to think together. So I can appreciate by getting curious where you're at, even though I have never experienced that, even though I may not agree with it.
Yeah.
I can come into your world and have an appreciation for your experience.
Absolutely. We are covering our conversations. I'm telling you right now, I think this is so good.
Yeah.
It was a refresher. The way you looked in my eyes when I was listening to you, I was like, it's going to be a good day. I didn't see
don't
that.
you want to do that more?
You ain't lying.
That's why
I look into your eyes right now. I look into your eyes tomorrow. I look into your eyes in the car.
Listeners,
and especially
okay?
tonight.
Yes. Listeners, I'm telling you, you have to appreciate good behavior if you want repeat behavior.
Yeah. Come on now.
Don't just
reward
nag about the
good
negative.
behavior.
Oh, yeah. Whatever.
Let's say reward.
This guy.
This is episode 7 of the 2 equals 1 marriage podcast with XO Marriage. And I'm telling you right now, we are so excited to come alongside you and your spouse for Marriage Made One, a marriage of love, laughter, and longevity. We'll see y'all next time.
Next time on the 2 equals 1 marriage podcast.
If you talk every day about little stuff, you will talk less about big stuff.
Yeah.
If you talk every day about little stuff, little fractures, you won't have big fights because you're addressing stuff. And what it does is it creates less space for resentment to build up.
That's right.
And so this is how to have good fights. We want you to tune in to XO Marriage, everything XO Marriage. They can go to our website. Guess what? They can sign up for Mastering Marriage.
Yes.
Where they get 2
coaching calls a month.
Wow.
An hour. You can sit down with your spouse and literally dive into just tools and get coached by Dave and Ashley Willis and Lynette and Sean Reed, and you and I do it as well. And we're all kinds of marriage educators who are going to help enhance your marriage, and just the tools that we hear about when we're listening to a message.
Yeah.
At a conference, somebody speaks, we're listening to a podcast, but to actually get live on a Zoom and practice and hear just it broken down into smaller incremental pieces that we can digest.
You can go to www.xomarriage.com to sign up